What's up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Welcome to Chaos Cinema, and I'm excited because we've got one of the biggest updates yet on Nintendo's live-action Legend of Zelda movie since we figured out the main two actors, because we actually know who's playing Ganondorf, and this has been a huge question every time we make a video and do updates about this movie. And according to New York Times reporter Kyle Buchanan, actor Uli Latakifu, and I hope I said that right, has reportedly been cast as the legendary King of Evil. Now, before we go any further, Nintendo and Sony have not officially confirmed this as of the time I'm making this video, and so until they do, we're going to treat it as a report rather than confirmation. But if the casting turns out to be true and all the major outlets are putting it out there, Variety, Discussing Film, all of them, I think we've reached a point where we can finally start asking a huge question here. What version of The Legend of Zelda are they actually making? So let's start with Ganondorf, because I think this is a really solid choice. If you've seen Uli in Young Rock or some of his other work, and yes, you probably thought immediately when you saw him on the screen, hey, he looks like The Rock. You know that he has the absolute physical presence to pull this off. Ganondorf isn't supposed to be just another fantasy bad guy swinging a giant sword. He is a king first. He's intelligent, he's manipulative, he's patient, he's intimidating, all long before he becomes the monster that fans know him from the games. And he's a big presence. Like an actual physical presence. That's one thing I really hope the movie gets right here. I don't want him to show up already as this over-the-top villain. And I really don't want him to show up in the vibe of like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. Don't get me wrong. I think Jared Leto crushed it with Skeletor. I really do. He was hilarious. It was funny. But I don't really want that tone with this movie. I want this movie to be serious. I want to watch him slowly evolve into the threat. I think some of the best Zelda stories are about watching Ganondorf manipulate everybody around him before he finally reveals just how dangerous he is. Think Doctor Doom, but in the Zelda universe. Now, when you look at all the casting announcements together, I think we see a pattern here. We already know that Benjamin Evan Ainsworth has been set as Link. We know Bo Bragginson is playing Princess Zelda, but there's also been reports that Lockman is playing Impa, and now we have this reported Ganondorf casting. We have core pieces. We have core pieces of one very familiar Zelda story, and they're starting to fall into place. Link, Zelda, Impa, Ganondorf. Those aren't random. That is the heart of what many fans consider the definitive Zelda adventure. You can let me know in the comment if you agree. First of all, do you agree with Uli? Do you like the casting? Let me know. And then, well, Wes Ball, the director, the guy at the helm. That makes me really optimistic. He's talked before about wanting Zelda to feel grounded and adventurous rather than overly cartoonish, which we just talked about, and I really, really feel they have to go this way. He even mentioned wanting to capture some of the same feeling that you would get from Lord of the Rings, where the world feels ancient, mysterious, full of history. And think about it. There was funny moments in the Lord of the Rings, but they weren't shoehorned in there. They were put in there alongside everything. It wasn't like, I go back to Masters of the Universe, which I thought was a fun movie, a fun watch, but it was forced. All the humor and the comedy and everything was forced. It feels that way sometimes with Marvel movies as well. Not Lord of the Rings. There was a few moments that made you laugh. I mean, there was some good stuff, but it never felt forced, and that's what I want here. And this film is being filmed in New Zealand. So just close your eyes. Mountains, massive forest, ruined temples, incredible landscapes, and all that brings Hyrule to a life in a way we haven't seen. If you've watched the Maze Runner movies or maybe Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you know he likes practical locations and he loves large-scale adventure, and this sounds like a perfect fit for Zelda. So let's talk about the story, because we've got most of the major castings here if they all end up being true. And what do we think the story is going to be? Personally, I think Nintendo is going to keep things very simple for the first movie. Link starts off as an ordinary young man living a quiet life before he's suddenly pulled into something much bigger than himself. You could almost go back to my favorite Legend of Zelda game of all time, Link to the Past, where he wakes up in the bed and then he starts off on this major adventure. Princess Zelda begins uncovering a growing threat as Ganondorf searches for an ancient power hidden within Hyrule. And then you have Impa becomes Link's guide, mentor, all that good stuff, right? And then Ganondorf slowly manipulates events from behind the scenes until he's revealed as the true villain. I don't think they'll dive headfirst into every piece of Zelda mythology right away. That would be dumb. I think that would be a mistake. I think they're going to build the world one step at a time and leave plenty of room for sequels, but you also have to leave that door open for new fans that don't necessarily know anything about Hyrule, or Link, or Zelda, or Ganondorf. You've got to be able to get them on the same page, enjoy it, not overwhelm them, and then we grow from there. Now, one thing I'm curious about is how they're going to handle the Master Sword here. I think this is one of the most iconic moments in all of gaming. I wouldn't have introduced it too early. I'd honestly make it an emotional payoff for most of the entire movie. I think we let Link struggle here, fail, slowly grow into the hero that he's destined to become before finally proving himself worthy enough to pull the Master Sword from its resting place. If he pulls in Act 1 or 2, I think it's a miss. I do. And I think it takes away from how special and how big of a moment the Master Sword is. Really, I do. I mean, that's the kind of moment that could get the audience cheering in the theater if they do it right. Think kind of Captain America gets Mjolnir. Not that big of a payoff or setup, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. Now, if Nintendo can get this first film right, the possibilities afterward, they are endless. Suddenly you have Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, all of them. All other stories that could either be adapted or they could inspire future films. And unlike Mario, Zelda already has decades of fantasy lore and incredible adventures that we can explore. This could become Nintendo's answer to franchises like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings if they play their cards right. And I know you're saying that is a bold, bold claim, Jimmy. Think about it with me for a second. I mean, Harry Potter wasn't Harry Potter until everybody fell in love. Same with the Lord of the Rings. This could, if they do it right, and they can't go whimsical or cartoonish, this has to hit. It has to be an essence of gritty and visceral to a degree. There have to be stakes. You have to feel like things could be lost in this. It really, really should go down the Lord of the Rings vein. And if they do, I think people are going to attach to it in such a massive way. I really do. At the end of the day, I think this reported Ganondorf casting is huge. It's important for a bigger reason than just adding another actor to our list here. It tells us this movie is coming together. We've got Link, we've got Zelda, we've got Impa, we've got Ganondorf. For the first time, it feels like we could stop asking who's going to be in the movie and start asking what story are they actually trying to tell. If Nintendo is building an original adventure inspired by Ocarina of Time while staying true to the spirit of the games, I think this has the potential to become one of the biggest fantasy movies of the decade. This is my most anticipated movie. It truly is, and I am a huge Marvel nerd and a DC nerd, and I'm just a huge movie buff, to be honest with you. This one is really important to me in a big, big way. Seriously. So I want to hear from you guys. First off, what do you think of the reported Ganondorf casting? Second off, if you could choose one Zelda game for this movie to take the most inspiration from, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments. You guys, if you know me, you already know I would love for them to do a storyline with Link to the Past. Oh my God, that's so many memories. And I'm going to tell you guys how old I am really quick if you made it to the end of this video. I was playing this game probably in my early teens, but the giveaway for Unk status here is that me and my buddy went through this whole thing together. I have such fond memories of it. And we secretly called the Nintendo Power Hotline because we got stuck on one of the dungeons and we couldn't get through it. And we called, that was back when it was like $3 or $4 a minute. We got in so much trouble. Yeah, that's how old I am. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you soon.